So here I was, sitting at this very desk that you can't see, when I thought to myself, Paraspectre, when was the last time you actually did a standard challenge for the TCG? And then I looked it up and saw it was August of 2023 with the self-damaging moves challenge. Ooh boy, that feels like forever ago too. I did do that Delibird and Stantler one on the TCG Neo hack, but that's an unofficial one. So then I thought, well, what awful idea can I come up with now? And then it hit me like a jab from Base Set Hitmonchan. One of my recent videos was me talking about the entire Team Rocket set. Check that out if you're interested. And in that very video, I made some criticisms on how disappointing the two theme decks in that set were. The Trouble theme deck features Jessie and James on the cover, and there were like Weedle and Farfetch'd in it. What? Get out of town. So I say it's high time we do it right. I am going to beat the Pokémon trading card game using only the Pokémon that Jessie and James use throughout the course of the anime. And I'm going to decide this timeline by which Pokémon they had each time Ash would beat one of the gyms, since they follow his every move anyway. And if you aren't super familiar with the events of the original anime, well, I foresee this being a pretty difficult challenge. Jessie and James lose all the time. It's just what they do. So, a brief rundown of the rules. Firstly, yes, I can only use Jessie and James's Pokemon for the entire game, and just to make things more of a challenge, I can only use one of each Pokemon. Jessie only has one Ekans, therefore there will only be one Ekans in the entire deck. The rest of the deck will be made up of any trainer or energy cards that I want. I will only add Pokemon to the deck when they would acquire them during the corresponding timeline in the show. Also, even though the Club Masters in this game generally follow a very similar gym layout as they do in Kanto, it's not exactly perfect. There is no ground leader to match up with Giovanni, so the final club will be Mitch in the Fighting Club, as it's the only one not lining up. Ground Pokemon are grouped in with the Fighting type, so close enough. Also, there are a couple of Pokemon that Jessie and or James do acquire, but they don't actually end up using them or keeping them. I won't bother tracking down these cards, but I will point them out when it would happen. Either way, I won't be using them. And, well, that's about it. So let's check out the Pokemon I'll be starting with. So as you know, Jessie and James are not exactly a duo, but a trio with their talking Meowth as the third member. He's just as integral into the plots as they are, sometimes even more so. But since Meowth is a Pokemon, I will be using one for the duration of the game. And there are actually two options. Jungle Meowth is the colorless type with 50 HP, weak to fighting, resist psychic, 1 retreat cost, and 1 single move. For 2 colorless, Payday does 10 damage, and then I can draw a card with a heads flip. Honestly, not great. Drawing cards could definitely be helpful, but with so few Pokemon options, I don't know if this is the better option. There will, of course, not be any Persian in this challenge. Promo Meowth, though, is the card that came with the game itself, although actually the in-game one is different from the physical card. Firstly, 50 HP, weak to fighting, resist psychic, 1 retreat cost, all the same as Jungle. And Cat Punch from the in-game card takes 2 colorless energies and simply does 20 damage to one of my opponent's Pokemon at random. That is fun, but not all too reliable. The physical card hits the active one with a heads flip, and with a tails flip, they choose a bench one to take 20 damage, but that won't matter here. I don't know, it might depend on who I'm against for which Meowth I'll choose, but the real stars of the show are Jessie's Purple Snake and James's Ball of Toxic Gas. Ekans from the Fossil set is the grass type with 40 HP, weak to psychic, 1 retreat cost, and 2 moves. For 1 grass, Spit Poison causes poison, but only if a heads is flipped. And then for 1 grass and 1 colorless, Wrap does 20 and paralyzes with a heads flip. Honestly, not too bad, but only 40 HP isn't great. There is more of a difference than you'd think between 40 and 50 HP. But at least each move can potentially cause a status condition, so I can strategize accordingly. Ekans will be the ideal turn 1 Pokemon of the 3 if I can get it, since Spit Poison is a 1 energy move, although it may be useless 50% of the time. And then Coughing from the base set is the grass type with 50 HP, weak to psychic, 1 retreat cost, and 1 move. Foul Gas does 10 damage, and then poisons with a heads flip, confuses with a tails flip, but requires 2 grass energies to use it. So there's some setup time there. I do actually really like this one, as there will always be some status condition happening, and that's fun. I think Coughing is the best of the 3 here. And yeah, that's it. For quite a while, actually. The first 5 clubs. 1 Meowth, 1 Ekans, 1 Coughing. At least the good thing is, I will only need grass energies here, and maybe a couple double colorless from my cat friend there. I'm only going to need 2 per Pokemon, so I don't foresee energies being a problem most of the time. I gotta find that right balance of how many to include. And I'm pretty terrified of the Murray fight, right, with his lame Psychic boys. Luckily, Meowth resists Psychic, so he'll hopefully be the hero there. Yeah, this might be a tough one. But one thing I absolutely have to mention here is to give an enormous Snorlax-sized thank you to Scott's Thoughts for all of the work he did in making this overlay possible. He really spent a lot of time customizing this, and I think it will visually improve these challenges a lot by being able to see what's happening in each match in real time. I love it. So seriously, thank you so much again to Scott for making this happen. Go watch his stuff if you aren't doing that already. So I start my journey with a slightly customized deck just so I can start with Meowth, Ekans, and Coughing, and enough grass energies. I will not be customizing any trainer cards in the starting deck as I want to legitimately collect them along the way. So really this challenge will be awful at first and hopefully get easier. But there really isn't much more I can do now except go face off against Stony Gene, replicating Ash against Brock. And honestly, this should be one of the easier Club Masters. I mean, he uses similar Pokemon that my buddy Matthew uses, so how good can he possibly be? Also, I mean, his entire team is weak to Ekans and Coughing. I start with Ekans and a Pokeball that succeeds, so welcome to the party, pal! Ekans and Coughing, together right from the start. I immediately poison his stupid Rhyhorn as he starts to build a bench of more fighting mons. Luckily, Rhyhorn can't attack yet, and Gene is basically letting it suffer and die. This does happen. In comes Diglett, who mud slaps my poor Snack. I heal and take advantage of the one shot on Diglett. Diglett's cave this. Just when I'm about to prove that my snake is better than his rock snake, he uses a super potion and a potion. But also, Onix sucks, so you do whatever you want, Gene. I win that one, he brings in Geodude, instantly becoming a Graveler. Thankfully, I get some good coin flip luck with Wrap. Graveler goes down in 2 hits. Geodude comes in and, like, who cares? 1 prize left and I've only needed this little Ekans the entire time. He brings in Onix and I have a plus power so I can take it down in 2 hits. So what do? Forget to use the plus power. Yeah, it's been a while. It's still a win, but man, it could have been Ekans the whole time. Coughing comes in to finish the job, giving me the rock medal pretty easily actually. This will probably be the easiest club leader for this challenge too, so it was a good starting point to get used to the deck. On to the water club. In order to fight Amy, you must defeat her 3 lackeys, and woo boy, the struggles were real here. Again, I don't typically show these non-Club Master fights because they're just obstacles, but I do still adhere to the challenge rules, and I spent multiple attempts each. This might get pretty rough for the next few clubs. Attempt number 1 goes pretty poorly. I only managed to get Meowth, and I couldn't even take out her Horsey because of how Meowth hits Pokemon at random. Yeah, maybe I need to rethink which Meowth I want to use. Attempt number 2. Another rough one here just because I only got an Ekans. Ekans gets got pretty quick and I only have a mysterious fossil against her Squirtle. Well, this one didn't work out. Wait, what is she doing? A Professor Oak? Why are you wasting your time with that? Anyway, yeah, it's a bit of an uphill bet. Wait, what? A Pokemon breeder to turn Squirtle into Blastoise? You know Blastoise requires 3 energies to attack. What in God's name are you doing? All she had to do was use 1 bubble to win, and now she's technically giving me another chance. Of course I draw garbage, so okay, now it's lost. Yeah, there we go, a 3rd water energy. Okay, that was weird, but oh, come on! Another Professor Oak? Just end this, Amy, my god! So she uses Rain Dance to play another water energy, then another one, you absolute sadist. I guess she really wanted to hydro pump my fossils into muddy dust. Well, that was stupid. Attempt number 3, and now we're talking. I start with both Ekans and Coughing, so this looks promising. I get them powered up pretty quick, of course, and after a handful of turns go by, she now has a Wartortle out along with Goldeen, Horsey, and Seaking. Not great, but I'll do what I can. I start to get some decent luck, and she begins to struggle with getting energies. Seaking comes in, and I use a switch to let Coughing get to work with status conditions raining down upon her. I take down Seaking and then continue to do the poison rotation dance. You see, the AI in this game is super scared of poison, so they will typically do what they can to retreat Pokemon when they get poisoned. So there is a lot of discarding energies and leaving injured ones on the benches. I get my Meowth, so now the whole Rocket Gang is here. I take a chance here and retreat Coughing for Meowth, bring in the dying Wartortle with a Gusty, and then hope Meowth can start cat punching her bench to take them all out one at a time. But of course, Wartortle is the one who gets hit, so never mind. Only 4 prizes left, but here's where the tide shifts. She plays a Lapras, and they're just a bit too beefy for this deck. Also, they attack quick, and my team doesn't have a lot of HP. By the time she gets a second Lapras along with a Seadra, it's just too much for my boys. I get so close with only 2 prizes left and she almost ran out of cards even. But it's all over. I have confidence in them though, surely I can pull this off. But then I experienced attempts numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, yeah, this challenge absolutely blows. No wonder Team Rocket loses in just about every episode. But somehow, someway, I pull it off on the 12th attempt. She even started out with a quick Wartortle, Lapras, and Seaking, and I still did it. Coughing is easily the best of the crew here. With always either poisoning or confusing, Amy got so terrified of either happening and just continued to discard energies like cigarette butts on Wall Street. I almost only needed Coughing the entire time, but I did bring in a Fossil and Meowth very briefly. Water Medal obtained, and I still hate this challenge. So let's continue on to the Lightning Club, acting as this game's Lieutenant Surge fight. Something, Ash's Pikachu refuses to evolve into Raichu, I don't know. Team Rocket stayed out of that one. Lackey's done with a few attempts each, nothing too terrible though. Isaac time. I start with just Ekans against his active Kangaskhan alongside a Voltorb and 2 Electabuzz, so that's awful. But I mean, okay, come on. I know some people hate the Kangaskhan strat that I do. By that, I mean, if I intentionally leave the opponent's Kangaskhan in, they will continue to use Fetch to draw cards and absolutely fly through their deck, rarely ever attempting to retreat or build up to use Comet Punch. But with only having Ekans out, I gotta do something to stall for time. But see, right away, Spit Poison works, so now Kangaskhan has a shelf life. But also, then what? My Sneck won't last long against 2 Electabuzz. I have some trainer card options, but nothing I can really use, so now I have a decision. I can use Wrap to have Kangaskhan faint and then immediately deal with Electabuzz or Voltorb, or not attack and stall for a couple more turns. I go for the Wrap because, let's just get this over with. He brings in Voltorb, but then does something very important for the remainder of this match. He plays another Kangaskhan and I have a Gusty. I absolutely must stall for time because I will lose if Ekans gets hit a few times. So I begin to wrap up his Kangaroo with the strength of Xenia's thighs until I leave Kangaskhan on death's door. But uh-oh, the Kangaskhan strat may not work after all. He actually plays a second energy on it. And I am finding absolutely nobody else in the deck though. So then, all in one turn, he wastes a Defender on Kangaskhan, then plays an Oakman, then a Bill, then uses Fetch. So now you're just dangling the carrot there, Isaac. 11 cards drawn in one turn? Let's dance. So he plays another Bill, wastes more defenders, and continues to use Fetch. Eventually he gets 2 Electrode on top of his 2 Electabuzz, then uses 3 potions in one turn on Kangaskhan, but that doesn't really matter. It's all going to plan until Isaac gets smart and tries to pull a fast one. I still cannot find either Meowth or Coughing, but I do get a couple fossils, and this ends up being crucial. He uses a switch to bring in Electro to finally take down Ekans, so all I have left is a fossil. This is bad, what am I even going to do? Well, I just use a Gusty to bring the con back in. And then Isaac just kinda lets his deck run out. So I win by only having 3 mysterious fossils against his Kangaskhan, 2 Electabuzz, 2 Electrode, and a Magneton. I know, it's a cheap way to win, but what else could I have done? I never once found Meowth or Coughing, so I either had very bad draw luck or they were prizes. Lightning Medal obtained, and now I have some amazing news, you guys. You see, Ash and his lame friends went to get on the St. Anne, so we decided to dress up as Ganguro girls and give them free tickets. Why? How? Who cares? But what matters is, I finally get to add a new member to the deck. This Pokemon is worth a ton of money, and it is called a Magikarp, and I got it as an absolute steal. Except this thing actually sucks, so I'm just going to kick it into the ocean instead. It instantly becomes the most beautiful Gyarados I've ever seen, and then I never see it again. Ah well, moving on. Time for the grassy ladies, since even though Ash met Sabrina before Erica, Murray is too much of a punk to want to fight me yet and won't do it. Attempt number 1 pretty much boiled down to things taking too long to take action, and she got Exeggutor and Venusaur by the end, who were just too much for me. She used Venusaur's Energy Trans power to power up Exeggutor for Big Explosion, who ended up going 5 for 6 on my poor little Coughing. He's just a little man, ease up a bit. The very next turn, this Exeggutor, who is confused by the way, goes 6 for 7 on my inanimate pile of fossils. Coconut eggs everywhere. Jesus, Nikki, relax. I do end up taking down Exeggutor, but of course, Venusaur's Energy Trans brings all the energies to it beforehand, allowing it to use Solar Beam at will, which one-shots everybody. Attempt number 2. This one was honestly pretty tense and exciting, and it went for 13 minutes, so allow me to indulge. It begins with Meowth against Exeggcute and 2 Bulbasaur. She immediately gets Exeggutor, who can attack with as little as 1 of any energy, so it's a scary card. And right away, Meowth gets hit for 20 and is stuck asleep, and I actually have energy problems for the first time. This should be over right about now, right? I use a Gusty to bring in a fresh Bulbasaur and use up some trainer cards to hit up the Oak Man. What's up, my guy? I don't get anything too great, but I do get an energy to at least use Cat Punch. I end up using 2 plus powers, and unfortunately, this fresh Bulbasaur is the one who gets one-shotted. So Exeggutor comes right back in. Boom, 20 from the Explosion. I remove an energy and go for another Oakman, who puts my deck quite a bit lower than hers. Boom, another blast of eggs. Meowth is down to 10 health. She plays an Ivysaur, and then my poor kitten now has to go to the vet. All I have left are a couple stupid fossils. I get yet another Professor Oak, so I play that immediately, which finally gives me my Coughing and another fossil. But wow, my deck is getting kinda low. She explodes my fossil, in comes Coughing to dish out some fancy new status conditions. Bam! Poison Coconut Tree. But now I do a risky move here. Before Exeggutor dies off from preen at its roots, I use a Gusty to bring in a fully powered Ivysaur, just because poisoning or confusing it can help weed out some of her grassy mons with her maybe retreating. And I get pretty lucky. I confuse it and it hits itself, down goes Ivysaur. In comes Exeggcute and I confuse it, but my deck is now down to 12 cards and I still need 4 prizes with only a Coughing who can attack. It hits itself with confusion and then I poison it, easy enough, 3 prizes to go. Exeggutor comes back and I poison it right away. Am I going to pull this off in time? Also, Coughing is still at full health. Exeggutor finally dies a horrible death. 2 prizes to go, 9 cards left in the deck. In comes Exeggcute, and I am so sick of seeing these eggs, and I confuse it. It takes confusion damage again, and then I poison it. Just excellent coin flip luck for me this round. 1 prize remains, and all she has left is yet another Exeggcute, my lord. I use a plus power and poison it, so this should be in the bag for me. She plays an Oddish and retreats Exeggcute, so then I poison that fool. Then she evolves it into Gloom, 4 cards left for me. She plays another Oddish and uses a switch to bring it in. Come on, this is so close. So now I poison that one and she evolves this one into Gloom. I swear, if I lose this one, I cure my own poison on Coughing, which is just ridiculous. So then I poison Gloom, also ridiculous. 2 cards left. So then she plays yet another Oddish and retreats for that one, and I am going to scream. But then I draw the one single card that can save me now. A Gambler. You see, Gambler has me shuffle my entire hand back into my deck. I draw 8 cards with a heads, 1 with a tails, and I get tails. Just like that, 13 cards back in my deck, and what perfect timing too. Now if I can just take down any one of these stupid weeds. She then uses a Pokemon Breeder to turn this Oddish into Vileplume, which honestly isn't terrible since it has no energies on it. I confuse and poison it, so now I just gotta wait for this flower to wither and die, and that's exactly what happens. I finally get my last prize, and I couldn't have done it without that Gambler card. That was actually pretty awesome. Grass Medal obtained, and now I'm exhausted. But next is the main one I've been worried about, Psychic Leader Murray, and 2 out of the 3 Pokemon in my entire deck are weak to Psychic. My one hope is to utilize Meowth's resistance to Psychic though, so ooh boy, let's just see what happens. And I don't even know what to say here. I started with Meowth and I ended up getting all 6 prizes by only ever using Meowth with full health at the end. What? And even though he opened with a Kangaskhan, I didn't even do the con strat. Well, kinda. I ended up utilizing Snorlax's heavy retreat cost and cat punched over and over and over, paws of fury flying everywhere. He eventually had Snorlax, 2 Kangaskhan, Mr. Mime, Kadabra and Alakazam, and a Chansey. But there was one point where he did use a switch to bring in Kangaskhan to Comet Punch Meowth, but he survived and I just used a super potion on the next turn anyway. But yeah, Murray absolutely would not put any energies on Snorlax, and I don't really understand why. Body Slam would work better than any of his psychic moves against Meowth, but alright, you do you, my man. It also took me till about 8.5 minutes in until I finally got another Pokemon. He tried some moves at the end by scooping up Snorlax to bring Chansey in, but he still never attacked with it. This match was absolutely geared toward this promo Meowth over the jungle one, which I have yet to use anyway. Psychic Metal obtained, and you guys, something amazing has happened. The miracle of life. The evolution part, not the birth part. My little purple poison boys have grown into the most beautiful cobra and disgusting looking fused poison gas mine thing. That's right, it's finally time to legitimately add some newcomers to the deck. My god, that feels like it took forever. Welcome to the family, Arbok and Wheezing. Fossil Arbok is the grass type with 60 HP, weak to Psychic, 2 retreat cost, and 2 moves. Terror Strike does 10 damage, and then with a Heads Flip, they choose which benched Pokemon to switch in to be active. It's a little like Pidgey's Whirlwind, but it won't always work. But it's cheap for only 1 grass. And then Poison Fang does 20 damage and auto poisons. Heck yeah. I wanna cry just like Jessie and James did. I get it now. Arbok is pretty nice. Fossil Wheezing really isn't much better than Coughing though, who's really been my star of the show so far. Wheezing only has 10 more HP with 60, the same psychic weakness and 1 retreat cost. Smog does 20 damage and poisons with a Heads Flip, and then Self-Destruct we all know. 60 damage to both actives and then 10 to everything else. But with still only 3 total Pokemon in the entire deck, it would really have to be worth it to blow up my own Wheezing. We'll see if I ever use it. But now it's time to go Poison v Poison and pay a visit to the old science nerds out in Science Land. Hide your beakers and surrender now, or prepare to fight. I had to say some of the motto at some point. And full disclosure here, but me playing this is actually a couple weeks later. Why does that matter? Because look at this dumb move I make right at the start. I open with a Fossil and a Coughing on the bench. Fossil first, so I have time to maybe get 2 grass energies onto Coughing. Rick opens with a Mewtwo and Coughing on the bench. So what do? I put a grass energy onto the mysterious Fossil. What, am I new here? Come on, get your head in the game. Oh well, I'll just hold on as long as I can here. Mewtwo immediately takes Coughing down to 10 in 1 hit with Psychic, but the only small hope I have is to confuse it, which I do. Bam! Mewtwo hits itself for 40 due to its own weakness. Nice. Dead as heck. My prize is Meowth, so hey, maybe I do actually have a chance. The other Mewtwo comes in who still needs some setup time. I confuse him too, and he also hits himself for 40 just trying to use energy absorption. And in keeping with the ideal coin flip luck, I knock it out with Poison. This level 13 Coughing on Death's Door just took out a level 53 and a level 60 Mewtwo. Hilarious. All he has now is Wheezing, who knocks out Coughing right away, but luckily I have a Revive. Meowth comes in and gets poisoned, and he starts to build a bench. But I revive and heal Coughing and bring him back in, who proceeds to chip away at his Wheezing, 2 Grimer, and 2 Porygon. He seemed to be having a bit of trouble getting energies, so the rest was honestly pretty uneventful. MVP Coughing finally did get taken out, but by that point, I had Meowth and Arbok on the bench, and Arbok just closed the game out for the easy win. Man, for what seemed like an instant loss after me putting an energy on a stupid Fossil at the beginning, it really didn't end up being much of a mistake. Science Medal obtained, which I can't believe happened in only 1 attempt. But now, oh boy, we're about to encounter some real activity. You see, there was this one time where a bunch of kids in Japan got seizures by watching the episode about Porygon, and I ended up getting this super cool new virtual duck thing. Except this card is basically the absolute worst thing I've ever seen, and Team Rocket leaves it behind anyway, so whatever. Throw it in the pile with the other legendary cards I'll never care about. But before continuing on, I decided to check out the Princess Festival while in Ohina Town, as one does. Why am I mentioning this? Because, check this out. I'm finally adding a new Pokemon to the team. If you don't count Arbok and Wheezing. You see, this gross Lickitung appeared out of nowhere and tried to paralyze my poor Arbok. So I did the only thing I could think to do to punish it. Add it to my roster. Jungle Lickitung is the colorless type with a whopping 90 HP, weak to fighting, resist psychic, 3 retreat cost. Yeah, it's kind of a beast. Tongue Wrap does 10 damage and paralyzes with a heads flip, and Supersonic simply confuses with a heads flip. Lickitung is more akin to something like base set Onix. Very defensive, not very offensive. But now I get to add this creepy thing to the team. Hooray! And that's not even all. Wait, what? See, I've also been keeping a secret. I've actually been stashing away a Weepin' Bell that I caught a while ago in a daycare center, and while it was there, it evolved into the beautiful and terrifying Victory Bell. Sure, it doesn't make any sense since it evolves with a Leaf Stone, but I don't know, it's just what happened in the anime. But that means I'm now adding 3 new Pokemon on top of the Lickitung. Jungle Bellsprout is the grass type with 40 HP, weak to fire, 1 retreat cost. Vine Whip does a simple 10 for 1 grass, and then Call for Family is entirely useless for this challenge since there's only 1 Bellsprout. So Vine Whip it is. Jungle Weepin' Bell gains 30 more HP with 70, the rest is the same. Poison Powder does 10 damage and poisons with a heads flip, and then Razor Leaf does 30. Really not bad at all. And finally, the big show. Jungle Victory Bell has 80 HP, still weak to fire, 2 retreat cost. Lure acts as a permanent gust of wind, so I absolutely love it. I choose which benched Pokemon becomes active. And then Acid does 20, and with a heads flip, that Pokemon can't retreat on the next turn. The amazing thing about this entire evolution line is that you will only ever need a total of 2 grass energies for them. Super cheap, and I honestly kinda love Victory Bell too. This challenge is about to get too easy. Who's next anyway? Oh, the Fire Club. Right when I just added 3 new ones weak to fire too. Ah well, Ken actually barely uses any Firemons anyway, only Growlithe, Arcanine, and Magmar. And well, honestly, this one was pretty easy, even though it went on for almost 16 minutes. I only ever needed Coughing, aside from briefly evolving it into Wheezing for a couple turns. Ken just kept doing a rotating table of Jigglypuff and Chansey and Growlithe and Magmar. Wheezing did get taken out, but I had to revive and just brought Coughing back, who took out his entire team. I'm telling you, Coughing is pretty legit. He did have an Arcanine out at one point, but even that wasn't bad thanks to some energy removals. Fire Medal obtained, and now we have to talk about something very important.
Why don't you have a seat right over there? Okay.
So there's this episode called The Battle of the Badge, where Giovanni appoints Jessie and James to actually be gym leaders and fight against Ash. I'm about to ascend to greatness and pretend to be a gym leader. Even they don't understand why, but for only this final club medal, I will be ditching this standard team that I just finalized in favor of 3 new ones. Machamp, Kingler, and Rhydon. Things are gonna get crazy. And well, it would feel incomplete if I didn't give a rundown of the 7 Pokemon here. I promise I'll make it brief. Base Machop is the fighting type with 50 HP, weak to Psychic, 1 retreat cost, and 1 single move for a single fighting energy. Low kick for 20, very basic. Base Machoke has 80 HP, weak to Psychic, 3 retreat cost for some reason, and 2 moves. Karate Chop does 50 damage, minus 10 for each damage counter on Machoke, and then Submission does 60 and Machoke takes 20 damage. Machoke is pretty costly, but there's definitely more going on than with Machop. Base Machamp has 100 HP and the same Psychic weakness and 3 retreat cost. Seismic Toss does a simple 60 damage, but is a bit costly. But its Pokemon power of Strike Back says whenever Machamp is hit, that Pokemon takes 10 damage unless Machamp has a status condition. Definitely a nice bonus, and it even gives Machamp some value if you don't quite have the energies yet. Fossil Krabby is the water type with 50 HP, weak to lightning, 2 retreat cost. Call for Family, like with Bellsprout, is entirely useless here as there's only 1 Krabby. Then Iron Grip does 20 damage. Fossil Kingler is the water type with 60 HP, weak to lightning, 3 retreat cost. Flail does 10 damage times the number of damage counters on Kingler, so anywhere from 0 to 50. Crabhammer does a set 40. Yeah, these two are simple damage dealers for this challenge and nothing more. Jungle Rhyhorn has 70 HP, weak to grass, resists lightning, 3 retreat cost. Leer prevents the defending Pokemon from attacking on the next turn with a head slip, and then Horn Attack does 30. And finally, Jungle Rhydon has a mighty 100 HP, weak to grass, resists lightning, 3 retreat cost. Horn Attack carries over from Rhyhorn for 30, and then Ram is a risky one. 50 damage, Rhydon takes 20, and then the defending Pokemon gets switched for a benched one of your opponent's choosing. And that about does it. This is all of a sudden a fighting water theme deck, and again, only for this club. Kind of a fun idea, but will it be fun in execution? I choose to go with Krabby up first with Rhyhorn on the bench. Mitch has 2 Machop, and then I draw a Machop. There's a lot of muscle around here. But while Machop can do 20 damage instantly, Krabby needs 2 turns, so this isn't great. I use a Bill and get Machamp on the next draw. Now if I can just find Machoke and some fighting energies. I take a chance and heal Krabby, and my next card, Machoke. Well, looky here. He now gets a 3rd Machop, plus a Hitmonlee, and he starts to power it up. Krabby loses the battle, so just like that, all of my water energies are kinda useless now. It's Machop on Machop action, and I knock out the first one. My prize is a fighting energy, so that means it's Machoke time. I just barely take out Machop before Karate Chop won't work anymore. But I just use a Super Potion, evolve Machoke into Machamp on the next turn, and Seismic Toss these last 2 fools right into the earth. Hitmonlee did put up a fight at the end though, with 1 high jump kick almost knocking Machamp down for the count. So just like that, it's over pretty easily. I think I spent more time going over these new cards than the duration of the match itself. But now it's time to give these fellas back to the boss and retain my original group for the Grandmasters. And I cannot believe I've beaten most of these in 1 attempt too. Nikki took 2 tries, and then the almighty Amy was the only one who gave me a hard time with a ridiculous 12 attempts. But now it's time to put up and shut up. There won't be any more additions or subtractions now. Meowth, Arbok, Wheezing, Lickitung, and Victory Bell. There was one episode where Jessie caught a Shelter, but it almost immediately lashed onto a Slowpoke's tail to evolve it, never to be seen again. Well, that was fun. Evil Courtney is first. It's my lone coughing against her Magmar, Vulpix, and Growlithe, but now I gotta deal with Magmar's smokescreen garbage. After a couple turns, I get my Bellsprout, and then I kinda make a dumb move in retrospect. I use my computer search to get Weepin' Bell, kinda forgetting that I'm against the Fire Queen. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I do get Meowth and Lickitung and get to work on the coughing dance, poisoning and confusing everyone with no mercy. Magmar is the first to keel over, then Vulpix, but then Courtney says it's Fire Giver Moltres time. No more kids stuff. Puppers goes down and now it's Energyless Moltres time. But I try something new here. I retreat coughing to bring Meowth in to start cat punching while this useless Moltres is in. But then she starts to power up Moltres, so please come back coughing, we missed you. Bam! Poison on the beak right away. But Courtney can't take this madness anymore. Dive Bomb, fail. To preserve my precious coughing, I bring Meowth back in. I have the energies to spare. Dive Bomb fails again, so she retreats as I continue to punch with cat paws everywhere. She evolves a Vulpix into Ninetales, so welcome back coughing. Ninetales gets confused, so she chances the confusion damage to use Mix-Up? Mix-Up has me shuffle all Pokemon cards in my hand back into my deck in exchange for the same amount at random. Except here's the thing, Courtney. Ekans, Arbok, and Wheezing are literally the only Pokemon I have left, so I end up with Arbok and Wheezing in my hand. Was it worth it? Ah well, time to keep cat punching. Growlithe goes away, then Moltres, 1 prize left. But then she finally does something. A switch to bring Arcanine in to unleash a flamethrower all over my poor cat. You did so good, little buddy. But then this ending is weird. I poison Arcanine and she understandably uses flamethrower on coughing. I bring in a Fossil to tempt her to leave Arcanine in, and that's what she does instead of retreating it? She chooses to use flamethrower on my mysterious Fossil to just lose the match from poison damage. Alright. I thought Courtney was one of the best. That was nothing. Maybe Thunder Steve will prove to be more of a challenge. Well, I start with only Bellsprout against his Electabuzz, and it goes as well as you'd expect. Done in 2 hits. Attempt number 2. It's Coughing against the world, or in this case, 2 Electabuzz and Eevee. Coughing takes a couple hits of paralysis, but luckily I had some potions and defenders to use until I was able to poison Electabuzz. It dies a horrible death. Time for the next one. It instantly paralyzes Coughing, so I opt to turn it into its mutated evolution. Wheezing poisons Electabuzz, which scares Thunder Steve so bad that he brings in Voltorb. Wheezing spreads so much smog over Voltorb, but Steve pulls a Mad Lad move next and evolves it into Electrode, who uses Sonic Boom to take Wheezing down to 10. Come on. I hit it with a plus power to take it down to 10, with unfortunately not poisoning it. Wheezing gets sonic boomed into Green Hill Zone? That's a Sonic place, right? I don't know, I don't care about Sonic. And things start to look grim. Ekans does come in to finish off Electrode, but then he plays a Zapdos, and Eevee succeeds with Quick Attack to almost knock out Ekans. I use a Pokeball to bring Arbok in to insta-poison his Eevee. But of course, he retreats for Electabuzz, who makes quick work of Arbok. I'm left with Meowth and Bellsprout now. Meowth Cat Punches Electabuzz, who ends up knocking itself out with its own Thunder Punch, luckily. He plays yet another Electabuzz and then knocks out Meowth with Eevee, and I'm left with a dangly weed and an inanimate fossil. Not great. I use the Oak signal to call on the Oakman, which does grant me my Weepin' Bell, which is significantly better. My next card, Victory Bell. Here we go. I use a Gusty to start chipping away at Zapdos before it can do anything. Acid begins to spray all over the field. Also, thankfully, I draw Licky Tongue, and just when Zapdos is about to keel over from all the acid sprayed into its face, it's able to pull off one Thunderbolt more powerful than Zeus himself. Bam! Victory Bell gets electrocuted beyond recognition. It's all on you, Licky Tongue. I finally knock out Zapdos, and we each need 2 prizes, and my deck is running low. Licky Tongue wraps Eevee to death. 1 prize left, and he brings Voltorb in, who becomes Electrode right away. Just great. I do have a secret Gusty weapon, so I remove an energy from his other Eevee and bring that in to hopefully chip away at it before I run out of cards. I just gotta hope he doesn't retreat it, or use a potion like he just did. Come on. 5 cards left in the deck, and Eevee is at full health. This is going to be close. Thankfully, Eevee's tail wag fails, so I can still attack it. I remove the energy he places on it, and then Thunder Steve just kinda lets me win? He plays an energy on his benched Electabuzz instead of Eevee to retreat it. So I just hit it once and win. These are the Grandmasters, right? This move made no sense. I think he would have won if he just retreated Eevee. This game does not have an easy mode, I swear. But alright, a weird victory, but I'll take it. Jack time. It's just my Coughing against his Seal and 3 Lapras. I mean, my god, this is going to take forever, isn't it? After a lot of turns of the usual, I do take down 1 Lapras and greatly injure another. His Seal does chip away at Coughing, but I use my Revive on it right away. Meowth knocks out his 2nd Lapras, but he soon not only gets an Articuno, but his 4th Lapras! I am so sick of seeing this thing. I retreat Meowth for Coughing to poison Lapras number 3. I retreat Coughing for Meowth and get the Cat Punch on his Seal to knock it out, and Lapras knocks itself out from confusion. 2 prizes just like that, 2 to go. Time for Lapras number 4 with 2 Articuno in waiting. But just before Lapras meets its end, I opt for a Gusty to get some status conditions onto the Articuno he's starting to put energies on. Bam! Poisoned, and it kinda works. He loses both energies to retreat it for Seal, so I retreat Coughing for Meowth again to continue the tag team match. Cat Punch on Lapras, 1 prize left. Seal knocks out Meowth, and Coughing's poison scares Jack again, so he retreats for a stupid Chansey. So I poison that egg, and he uses a switch to bring in Articuno to finally knock out Coughing. Can I still do this? I'm left with Bellsprout and a Fossil, a familiar situation. But I get real lucky here. I use a computer search to get a Gusty to bring the injured Seal in, then take a huge chance with an Oakman, putting my deck down to only 2 cards. And it actually works. I get a plus power, allowing me to use 1 single Vine Whip to knock out Seal for the final prize. Yikes, that was close, but look at that. Flimsy little Bellsprout gets the knockout. And yet another win on the first attempt. Crazy. Only Rowdy Roddy and Lame Ronald remain. And in a very rare case, my starting hand has no grass energies but 3 Pokemon. I obviously opt for Coughing, and Rod goes with a Lapras? Are you kidding me? Go back to the Hazy Maze Cave, my god. I very quickly get almost all of my Pokemon before even getting a grass energy though. I even end up using a double colorless on Coughing just to retreat it for Meowth. Cat Punch time. I get a couple hits in before Lapras water guns Meowth out of here. Coughing time. Then, just like that, he evolves Dratini into Dragonair and Charmander into Charmeleon, so this could go south quick. Oh, and then Dragonair into Dragonite, who utilizes its healing wind power, negating all of Meowth's Cat Punches. Just great. Then it happens. MVP Coughing goes down. What am I going to do now? Oh well, I just revive it and try to get it back to full strength. Little baby Ekans spits poison all over Lapras, and I never want to see one of these again. My prize is Lickitung, and I draw Wheezing, so almost everybody is here. So I bring Coughing back to get to work on a couple Magikarp, a Charmander, Charmeleon, and Dragonite. Foul gas spilling all over the land. His whole team is reeling, and he's almost devoid of energies now. Charmeleon dead. Magikarp fins down. I even evolved Coughing into Wheezing, but its time has finally run out. One flail from a Magikarp and it's all over. But I just bring in Lickitung, who takes out Magikarp, and then I use a Gusty to conquer Dragonite, who ended up being a complete non-factor here to get the win. But he uses a switch to bring Charmander in, evolves it, plays it double colorless to use Slash, so now what? Well, I just use a computer search to get another Gusty to remove the ultimate legendary Dragonite card from this earthly realm, giving me the win. I gotta say, I can't believe the Grandmasters have been this easy. Sure, some were close, and I lost to Thunder Steve once, but yeah, not bad. But now, the ultimate final battle against the end boss, the undisputed champion trainer himself, Ronald. And it's over in a few minutes. He only ever used one Eevee and 3 Dratini, and Coughing just took them all out. Done. But look at that, I beat Ronald without him running out of cards in his deck. And that is that. I have earned those legendary cards, and they are finally mine. And wouldn't it be the Team Rocket way to finally get a victory, and then the reward is just the worst cards you've ever seen? I don't want these stupid things, and I'm never going to use them. Who cares? But I did it. I beat the Pokemon trading card game using only Jessie and James' team at the appropriate times. I officially united all Peebles within our nation. And honestly, it really wasn't too difficult. It went way smoother than I expected. It took me 2 tries against Nikki and 2 against Thunder Steve, and then a crazy amount of 12 tries against Amy. What was that all about? I know I didn't have the right trainer cards then, but still, 12 tries? Literally every other match against a club leader, grandmaster, or the champion himself were completed in 1 try. And I absolutely attribute most of that to base set Coughing. That thing owns. I did my best to keep it around or revive it as much as possible. It will always cause either poison or confusion, and really, that's just too good. There were even a few times where I specifically did not choose to evolve it into Wheezing because Coughing was simply more valuable. Wheezing can only poison 50% of the time or blow itself up and only gains 10 more HP. I kinda think Coughing is better actually. Ekans and Arbok really didn't factor in all that much here, although I did use them on occasion. Bellsprout was mostly just kinda there, although it did get me a win that one time. I don't think I even used Weepin' Bell once, and then Victory Bell was out maybe a couple times, but didn't do too much. Lickitung was mostly for stalling or defense, as I predicted, and then I think Meowth gets the silver trophy here. Cat Punch is very unreliable for a strategy, but I think it ended up helping out quite a bit. I never even tried using Jungle Meowth. But yeah, it was all about Coughing here, the MVP of the challenge, baby. This ended up being pretty fun though. I enjoyed it, and it's nice to be back into the TCG. I don't know what challenge I'll do next or when, but the urge will simply have to strike. And once again, many thanks to Scott's Thoughts for all the work he put into this overlay. I hope it ended up improving the experience for you all. Go watch his channel next. Now if you'll excuse me, I gotta get home to Growly. Paraspectre will return. Meowth, that's right.